So spring is officially on its way and it is garden season. Well, at least it is for me. If you're one of the people that grows a vegetable garden, you have to get an early start. I've started my seedlings. I've been doing some work on my vegetable garden bed out there. And today is actually St. Patty's Day, and that is the date that I traditionally plant my peas here in Pennsylvania. That's like a safe date to plant them. So we're gonna go out and do that. I have some snow peas. They're what I like to grow. So we're gonna go out and stick them in the ground and you can come along with me. I'll show you what I've been working on. So I wanted to make this video to show you a little bit about what spring is like for me as a gardener and just kind of the processes that I take to get ready for the garden. And maybe it will inspire you to want to grow some of your own vegetables, or maybe you'll pick up some helpful hints from what I'm doing. So stay tuned. So I've got my peas planted. As you can see, I use those little kind of wooden structures that I built with some chicken wire. And that's because sometimes I have problems where squirrels and things are digging up the peas. So I only have 2 of those row covers. So 2 of my rows of peas have the row covers on them, and then one of them we'll just leave and see if the squirrels get to them or not. But another thing that I've learned is don't plant all your peas at once. Sometimes we have had just very, very rainy March seasons, and what happens is the seeds will actually rot in the soil. And I've had sometimes where they don't sprout. So definitely hold some back in case you don't get the crop that you want, that you can go out and do that second planting. This is about the earliest date where I live that you can put peas in the ground, but you can definitely plant them a little bit later, and then you can kind of expect these to go till July. They really don't like the hot weather. They're gonna fizzle out by then, but they are one of the great early crops for your garden. We like to do like stir fries and all kinds of stuff with the snow peas and the snap peas. So a good easy crop to get started, and it's great that it's one of those things you can direct seed in the soil. When I haven't been busy hiking, I've been busy mulching the garden. So I have been hauling lots of bags of mulch to mulch everything in the yard. That's one of the things I try to do every year, just to kind of help the flowers, prevent weeds. I like to mulch everything. I also like to mulch my raspberry beds. I like to mulch all my fruit trees. And then what I'll also do is I will apply a little bit of an all-natural fertilizer. It's called Garden Tone. And I like to put that down to just kind of give some nutrients and things to the garden beds. This is my raspberry patch. And the type of raspberries I have is that you cut the canes down every 2 years. So the canes didn't need to be cut this year, so I will do that next year. All of my spring flowers are starting to come up. The daffodils, the snowdrops, even the bleeding hearts are starting to emerge from the ground. So I have a new addition for the garden this year that I'm super excited about it. This is our solar Wi-Fi water timer, and it's got 4 different zones. So I think this is gonna make watering pretty effortless. But what you have here is you're gonna connect this part to your hose, and then this is pretty neat. You've got this little flip up solar panel. So this is going to provide all the energy it needs to run the programs and do what it needs to do. I like that it has this little screen here. And then you have 4 different zones. So if you wanna have one of these and a soaker hose going to your potted plants, you can do that. If you have different vegetables in the garden, maybe some that need more water compared to others, you can have all different zones going here. So I'm super excited about this. But imagine being away on vacation, you're worrying about your garden, and you just don't know how it's gonna get watered when you're away. This would be an awesome product to have, because you would be able to go in the app, you'd be able to schedule waterings, have it go automatically without you there. Some other really cool features is that you can use this to tell you how much you're watering. When we have really bad drought here in Pennsylvania, I always struggle with how long I stand out there with the hose or how long I keep the sprinkler on. This is gonna be able to tell you, you can set settings like, hey, when you've put a gallon of water in the garden, stop or notify you. So it's got a lot of really cool features. You can go in and update your programs based on if it rains and you want to pause the watering. So I'm going to show more about this as we get further along gardening season, but I think it is super, super cool, and I think it's going to be really helpful for my garden this year. Another thing that I thought was really fun is this will work with Amazon Alexa or Google Assistant. So yeah, if you use those devices, you can integrate this. It also comes with a 2-year warranty, which is very nice. All right, so this is my carrot hose setup. I have a splitter here because I like to be able to have the sprinkler with the garden and then water other things separately. But what I've been able to do is attach the timer. It does thread very nicely on this little attachment here. And then I was also able to take one of my hoses and connect it to one of the zones here. So I'm a little concerned that the hose reel is going to block the access to the solar panel. So I may need to undo this kind of like hose reel thing and come up with a different solution. But then when you have multiple hoses, you really need something to keep it organized. But so far, this will work for now, and I think I'll have to find a little bit better way to get the sunlight to the solar panel. So this is where I keep my seeds. A glass jar is really great just to keep them safe, keep critters out of here, and I generally, bag things up when they're open. I put them in little Ziploc bags. And usually I'll just buy seeds from Home Depot. This year I did order some seeds from Jung Seeds. So I have a few different things here. And then another thing that I like to do is just create a little grid system. These are just rectangles and things that I put together in the shape of my garden. And then I plan out where everything's gonna go. And this helps me figure out how many seedlings I wanna, how many seedlings I need to plant and kind of plan. And I also like to rotate my crop. Also, if you are a Pennsylvania-based gardener, really look into the Penn State Master Gardener program. So they have a lot of wonderful information for home gardeners. I'm based closest to the Philadelphia region, and they have this helpful planting guide. Okay, so you do not need a fancy setup to start seeds. Let me show you what I've got here. One of the things that I try to do is I try to protect my seedlings and make sure that they get as much light as possible. So I just have some of this reflective material here, and I just use this to keep the light in there. But all I have is just a fluorescent light with grow light tubes in here on a chain, and this is where I keep all my little seedlings. So same thing, have reflective material to try to keep that light back up there. But here's how some of my seedlings look so far. I've got some flowers, some peppers, some eggplant. When I set this up, this side of the chain is actually longer, so I can get the grow lights down lower. This side I'm kind of stuck, but what's going to happen is very soon these are going to grow, and you're going to have to keep adjusting the grow lights up because you don't ever want your plants to touch the light that can damage them. A few other things I really like. I like to use a little mister to just help the plants get used to kind of like, I guess what it's going to be like when they get out in nature. The mist gives them just some humidity and moisture. And then also they're used to kind of being pushed around by the mist sprayer. And then I'll also just water everything with a little watering can. But I've got a 2-layer setup here. So this is just one of those plastic Rubbermaid shelves. And then I have a second grow light down here. And I have some additional plants. And then I do have a little bit of space where my tomato seedlings will go. And then some of these are hardy enough that by the time I have to start my tomatoes, things will be pushed outside or pushed to other places. And then I'm also a big believer in using what you have. So I save all my old little plastic plant pots. It's actually a baby spoon from when my kids were little, but the little spoon is great for scooping out those seedlings and transplanting them. And then as far as starting seeds, if you want to germinate your own seeds, one of a really important thing that you're going to need is a seed starting heat mat. So this is provides just that little bit of warmth to help the seeds sprout. If you don't have this, another place you could try sprouting seeds would be on a warm surface. Like we have a hot water heat boiler. You could put it on there, or your hot water heater if that generates some heat. Sometimes those things will also work. All right, so this is my Meyer lemon plant. It's done quite well. It has produced 2 lemons so far, and then I have this one here. But what will happen is as soon as it gets warm enough outside, probably where it's between almost maybe the lows are in like the 50s at night, I will move this completely outside. This will live on my deck for the rest of the spring and the summer until it starts to get cold again in the fall. But as soon as I move this outside, I will start to fertilize this with a citrus tone fertilizer, and I'll do that probably 2 or 3 times. Over here, this is my lime plant, and this produced 2 little limes in this winter season, and this is also looking pretty healthy. I think I probably have to repot it. I've got some roots kind of showing here, but I will probably do that once I get this outside for the season. Same thing, this will be fertilized and moved outside for the spring. So I've got the garden all set up, and I've noticed there's been, when I go out there in the morning, there's been like digging and holes in the garden. So I moved our little wildlife camera to the fence of the garden, and the past couple nights we've kept an eye on it, and it's a fox. It's actually jumping in the fence, and then it looks like maybe it's digging around for, I don't know, worms or roots or whatever it may eat in the garden. So I think I'm going to keep the wildlife camera in the garden for a little bit to just kind of assess which part of the fence it's getting in. I think I have to stabilize my fence a little bit more. I mean, foxes can certainly jump. They might always get in there, but there are a few pieces of my fence that's kind of sagging. And I think if I shore that up, it might deter it a little bit. All right guys, so if you're like us, we have both a peach tree and we have 2 apple trees in our yard. And at first I tried to be completely organic. I wasn't doing anything to the trees. I wasn't putting any kind of spray on them. And we had some problems where our peach tree was getting yellow leaves, and leaves were dropping off. And then our apple trees were getting like kind of the rust that apple trees can get where it was on the leaves. The apples were becoming discolored. So several years ago, I found out about this product, and every spring I treat our apple trees and our peach tree with this. So this is just all seasons horticultural and dormant spray oil. So this is organic gardening, and what this is going to do is kill the insects by smothering them, and it's best. What I found is I put this on before fruit sets, before the blossoms even appear, before leaves even get on the trees. I do an application of this. But what's really great about this product is there's a little guide in with it, and it has directions for all different types of crops. You can use this on vegetables, on fruit trees, and it has different, you know, if you have powdery mildew on your cherry trees, or if you have you know, the rust mite on your apple trees, it gives all different directions and combinations for how you're going to mix this up. But all I do is follow directions for what I need for my trees, and I put it in a little pump sprayer. So this is just a little pump sprayer. You get this from Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon, wherever. And I mix this up, and now I'm just going to give the fruit trees a good application to help them get a healthy start this year. So this is not the most exciting process for you to watch, but what I'll do is I'll use this little pump sprayer, keep pumping it up, covering the trunks, all the branches on both our peach tree and then our 2 apple trees. And this is just gonna help them get a healthy start. So the peas we planted on St. Patty's Day, you can see kind of the seeds are swollen up, but nothing sprouted yet, but we're getting very close. And like I said, I've got these covers on to protect animals from digging. Okay, so today I'm out here, we're at the end of March right now, and it's going to be about time here in Pennsylvania to plant carrots and beets. So I'm gonna get these in the ground and show you how I do that. Super simple. I love a vegetable that you can just direct sow in the ground. So easy. All you're gonna have to worry about is when they do sprout, you're gonna have to thin them. And that's often a tricky process because you're torn between, you want the most vegetables that you can possibly get, but if you don't space them well enough, they're not gonna get big enough. So you really do have to thin them. And I find that when you thin them, you can't really transplant them. So you want to do a good job of spacing out your seeds if you can, but that's kind of impossible because the carrot seeds are so tiny, as I'm going to show you. So that is what the carrot seeds look like. They are so tiny, and you're going to want to try to do your best to space them in rows. Okay, so these are the beet seeds. They're a lot bigger and easier to work with. We're gonna get these in the ground. So I also like to do kind of planting, staggering planting. So what I'll do is I'll plant 2 rows of carrots now, 2 rows of beets now. And what I don't want is everything to be ready at once. So if I come out in another week or two and I do another row of beets and carrots, that's gonna kind of extend the growing season, and they're not gonna all be ready at the same time. Nobody wants 50 carrots at once. You wanna be able to enjoy things as needed, incorporate them in your meals. So by staggering your planting, you can do that. So something else you wanna keep in mind is when you're planting in the early season, it's gonna take a little bit for things to come up. And if you're like me, you're not gonna remember where you planted. So I like to use different sticks or markers to help you remember which bed I planted in, what I planted where, because if you don't mark it, you're not gonna know. You could disturb the seeds, you could put something else in. So it's really important in these early months to know exactly what you're putting in, know where you're putting it. So at one point in time, this whole bed was filled with strawberries. And last year with the drought, they just really took a hit. I do have a few coming up, but I think what I'm gonna do is actually take this bed and take these remaining strawberry plants and put them in a potted planter and then convert this bed for something else, because it's kind of a waste with having so few strawberries left. Neat little sign of spring. So you can see some asparagus is starting to sprout. You can see that there, and you can see this spear here, and this is pretty effortless. You just, in a little while, I'm gonna wanna mulch this, keep it watered well, and this will grow, come back every single year on its own, which is awesome. Got some kale here that's overwintered. That's always a nice surprise. And then chives are coming back. These come back every single year. So they survive the winter, and then this will get really full and healthy, but super easy thing to grow. So I've got my seed starting mix. I really like this Hoffman brand. It doesn't have any like sticks or twigs that you have to pick out of it. And then what I'm doing here is I have my burpee tomato seeds. I've kind of already made a mess here and started, but you can see they're these little pelletized seeds. And what I like to do is just take a small Pyrex dish, put the seed starter in, put the seeds down, just cover them with a light bit of soil here. And then I will water this, and I will put it on my heat mat, cover it with some plastic wrap and a rubber band after it's watered to hold in the moisture. And it's pretty amazing. These sprout so fast. After that, I'll go through a transplanting process, and I'll show you how I do that. All right, so as you can see, everything is starting to get bigger here. My basil, my cilantro, the lettuce, some of my flowers. So the grow light, you'll really see rapid growth. So it is April now. The peas have started to emerge from the soil. You can see the little seedlings here. And I have this lettuce that I've been keeping under the grow light. I've gone through the process to harden this off, gradually exposing it to the outdoors, keeping it out overnight. And now I'm ready to put some lettuce seedlings in the ground. I'm putting some extra cages around them, just with the fox being in the garden. Obviously, hiking and the outdoors is the primary focus of this channel, but each year I like to do a garden video or two just to kind of show you this other side of things. I'll have another video for you in the summer to just kind of update you on what we've been harvesting and how everything's been working out for us. I was also able to harvest our first crop of asparagus from the garden. Also, be sure to check out the description of this video. I'm going to have some of my favorite products and my favorite raised beds and different things that I use in my garden in case you are interested in any of that for your garden. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave me a comment. Do you grow any vegetables or flowers? Do you do a garden? Let me know. If you don't care about this gardening stuff, let me know that too. Have a great day, guys. Bye.